Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I'm in Ireland. Teeling, Distillery exclusive, Chinkapin Oak, also Rock Oak or Yellow Chestnut called. This is actually a native North American tree. 46%, typical for a Teeling, 60 euros, so maybe about 70 some dollars if you can buy it only at the distillery. Now, black, and you have here the nice little label that they can change every single time. So, produced and bottled by the Teeling Whiskey Company, Progressive Irish Whiskey Makers. Yay, non-chilled filtered. Very, very nice. So what we have here is a black tin or black and a black bottle. So I'm not sure if I always like it because you kind of have to look in the light to see how much whiskey's left, but that's just fine. I was in Ireland. I was in Dublin in the middle of November. I went to the Whiskey Life 2019 in Dublin. It was actually excellent. I got to meet John Teeling, the father of Jack Teeling, who now runs this, whose signature is on this. John was actually a student in Harvard, wrote a paper about the fall of the Irish industry. He went back to Ireland. He's a businessman. Yeah, he doesn't drink whiskey. John Teeling doesn't drink whiskey, okay? The father of the revival of Irish whiskey doesn't drink. And he actually got a couple people together, invested, bought that neutral grain spirits plant, converted into a distillery, and started making whiskey against the big boys back then, the Irish distillers. And he has done a lot for the revival of the Irish whiskey community. While I was there in Dublin, I maybe met about 30 different new companies that are starting up, and it's very, very interesting what they're doing. Now, Teeling was one of the first. They had enough money. They sold to Beam, which was later bought by Suntory, and they could actually take their 40,000 casks with them. I remember one of the guys that actually worked back then at Cooley. He mentioned the fact that they had to get the cask out of the warehouse within 72 hours. Trying to move 40,000 casks within 72 or 96 hours. It might have been 96. It was a major logistic feat. All right, so going back here, if you go to the distillery, and I've been there before, so I don't need to do the tour. You go in, there's this big, nice little board that tells you the price of all the different tours you can take. Take a right, go up to the gift shop. Walk up the stairs, go in the gift shop, and you're going to find something. You can do a hand fill for 120 euros. You can do another hand fill that's much older for like 300 and some 40 euros, or you can just pick up this nice little bottle. The first the distillery only was a chestnut. It was terrible. I don't like chestnut. It's so bitter. Me. The second was Hungarian oak. That was okay. And the third one now is Chinkapin oak, which is the yellow chestnut from North America. Now, to be very, very honest, this yellow chestnut or these chinkapin or this rock oak, the acorns are actually very, very nice. Edible, very sweet, were very important for animals as well as Native Americans, as well as many, many people on the frontier at the beginning. They would actually mill them and make some type of flour out of them and actually live off of them maybe in the hunger times of the spring before the harvest was able to come back in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare it now to the standard single malt Teeling here. Now, it doesn't say any place in the bottle it's a single malt. I think they actually took their small batch and they just finished it. And so this would actually be a mixture of grain and single malt whiskey, if I remember correctly. There's not a single word here about single malt. Here on this bottle, single malt is very, very big down here. It just says whiskey distillery exclusive. And so if I remember correctly, it's just a small batch, and they've just pepped it up and they finished it with that Chinkapin oak for us tourists. I think the price is actually okay. 60 euros for a distillery exclusive. Why not? Now, the thing that I get is a very, very type of wood flower, a little bit of sawdust. Imagine you had a piece of old furniture and you had a wood worm in it. And you found that woodworm and that the sawdust that comes out of that hole afterwards. It's very, very fine. And if you ever tasted it, I worked as a cabinet maker for many, many years in the States. sorry, 4 years in the States, many. I'm 30. I had 30 years of experience. No, I was 3.5 years of experience as a cabinet maker, basically. And but that taste is exactly what I get here on the nose and as well on the palate. Slanche. Mmm. Mmm. That finish is a little weird. So I went down because that pepper kicked in. It's kind of hot with 46%, for 46%. A lot of that grain kicks in there, I would say. And then there's that sweet acorn type of moment towards the end. It really tastes like a sweet acorn. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, well, I'm kind of neutral on this. I think this is a solid C whiskey. The price is going to be a C as well because it's a souvenir. You need to bring something back. You need to show someone, hey, look, I was a Teeling Distillery and this is what I had. Of course, you can buy the 24-year-old Teeling whiskey for €1,000. Go for it if your pockets are that deep. Mine are not. And so I bought this instead, and I really, I think it's okay. Nice design, nice bottle, nice story. Over here, the single malt. Basically the same thing, except for a lot more of a wine finish. It's finished actually in 6 different casks. A very nice product. Very enjoyable. You do notice the brown instead of the black. That's their color company code here. Mm. Mm. I prefer this much more integrated, much less of the heat, much less of the grain. Now, another interesting fact is that in the first 4 years after opening, the visitor center in Teeling in Dublin actually had a turnover of over 13 million euros, which actually isn't bad. They got a great cafe there. You can actually eat a nice, or have a snack or a little imbiss, or you can actually have a real meal there. Very nice. Prices are not the best, but they're okay for a distillery. They have a great tour. They have good tour guides. It's really interesting and impressive to see there. You go through the whole walkthrough of all the different stages. A very nice setup. At the end, you can pick your different whiskeys you want to try. You want to pay more, you get better whiskeys as well. Very great place to go. If you're in Dublin, I would highly recommend going to Teeling. Now, if you're in Teeling, you can actually just walk around the block, and you can go to the Liberties Distilling Company, brand new company, just opened up a few months ago. Very nice. They don't have any of their own spirit at the moment, just like Teeling basically doesn't do, except for the single pot still 3-year-old. They have a lot of source stuff, and wait a few more years and they're going to have great products, I'm sure, as well. So my question of the day is, what is your favorite Teeling product? Is it a Brabazon? Is it a single malt? Is it a revival? Is it a distillery exclusive? Did you have the chance to ever have a hand fill? Was it a single cask? There was a lot of Teeling's single casks we had in Germany. I think I once had a port 14-year-old. That was heavenly. It was to die for. It was so good. I drank half the bottle in one night with friends, and it was just absolutely sublime. Yeah. So, if you've ever had the chance of having a full maturation in a port cask or a sherry cask or any other type of cask for 14 some years, Irish whiskey can be so good. All right, thank you very much for watching. WhiskyJason here. My question of the day was, which Teeling Irish whiskey do you like the best? Thank you. Like, subscribe, tell others about this crazy guy in Europe tasting whiskey you might not ever see. Distillery exclusive. That's the way it goes. Bye-bye.